What's up, guys? It's CG Kid. In this video, it's actually a podcast where I'm introducing a new concept. I'd love to hear your input in the comments. I was on a live stream and I brought up the concept of creating a DMT-centric podcast. And the reason for it being is that DMT is such a mysterious compound. And, there's people that have traumatizing experiences and experiences that change their life for the better, and there's people that have experiences that cause negative impacts on their life. But the bottom line around DMT is one, not everybody should use it. It is, to an extent dangerous when you get to the breakthrough doses for harm reduction. It's also a Schedule 1 compound. It's extremely illegal. So if it is to be used, it should be used where it's legal. But the bottom line with DMT is one of the biggest mysteries is we don't know why this is in the human body naturally. The human body produces DMT. It's theorized to be produced by the pineal gland. No one knows for sure. But it's $1 million question. It's a mystery. And when you take this substance, you're transported to an afterlife. And I've shared with you guys my experiences with breaking through on DMT in previous videos, which you could check out on my channel. Terrence McKenna has shared his experiences, Joe Rogan. There's been a lot, public figures here and there that share their experience. But what my goal with this podcast is to just bring in people in a collective way and get the collective consciousness, the collective experiences with DMT, both good and bad. And kind of put them together for anybody who's interested in this mystery or learning more about this very strange compound, this huge mystery in life. But yeah, and this is a collaboration with DMT Infinity, and I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description, and it's a podcast with him where he discusses and explains what his DMT breakthrough experience was like and what he took back from the experience. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy it. Leave your input in the comments. Let me know if this is something you enjoy that you want more of, or if this is something you don't like, or what could be done better. This is episode 1 of the DMT podcast. Yeah, so like when you went into DMT, kind of like, I guess, what is your story? What intrigued you? Were you anxious, or what was it like going into the experience?
Well, you see, the first time that I ever consumed DMT, I obtained 60 milligrams from a friend of mine. We'll call him Swim. And I broke the 60 milligrams down into 2 different bowls, 30 milligrams. I loaded the first little bit into what I call a magic wand, which is a meth pipe whenever you use DMT instead of other mind-altering substances. Well, whenever I first began to inhale, it almost felt like it was burning my throat. I felt like I was doing it wrong. Well, I tried to light it again, and some of the liquid went into my mouth. I said, okay, I'm completely fucking up. So I went over to my computer and I did a little bit of research on how to hit one of these. Well, whenever I finally figured it out, I got the rest of the 30 milligrams, which I'd wasted most of, into my system. And I felt this intense sensation go throughout my entire body, almost like euphoria or anxiety, or a little mix of both. Next thing I know, I hear all these voices echoing inside of my head, and they seem familiar, but I can't really pinpoint them. At the last second, I realized these are all my relatives, all of my friends, all the people that I've ever known. Different things that I remember them saying, they were echoing through my mind until the understanding, the conscious awareness that I am who I am was no longer there. I just simply was. I was emotionless. It was almost as if I had reconnected to everything. This is how everything always had been forever. And I didn't realize it up until that point. And the only reason why I'm experiencing life the way that I am right now is because I'm trying to obtain a specific mindset so my consciousness can metamorphosize into a higher plane of existence after I die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I relate to that heavily because whenever I was broken through on DMT, it was like I was an observer if I was anything at all. I was not human. I had no recollection of past or of future. I just was a floating observer in a realm, and that's one of the things that distinguished DMT from salvia, for me at least, is that with salvia I would be able to see things from, a lot of it was chaotic, and it would be seeing things from multiple perspectives at the same time, whereas DMT was a lot more solidified. Like I was everything, and I was able to observe from a singular point of view, which was what was different. Whereas salvia, it's like part of you is slapped against that wall, part of you is slapped against the ceiling, part of you is a deck of cards. You know what I mean? It's like so chaotic, and you're in like so many different places at once. Whereas DMT, it was kind of like floating and just having this no recollection and observing what was happening.
DMT, in my opinion, is like heaven, while salvia is like hell, where both can be beneficial, but you don't want to stay in either one for too long.
Yeah, for sure. And like, technically any psychedelic compound could take you to a breakthrough experience, but with LSD or other hallucinogenic drugs, it's because of the duration of action, it would be incredibly foolish to take enough of a dose to equivalent a DMT breakthrough, because for 12 hours in that experience, God knows what could happen. You know what I mean? Or even 4 hours. So I always tell people DMT is kind of like the bungee jump into psychedelics. In a way, it's like, it can show you the core of where all psychedelics come from in a way that's more safe, simply because of the duration of action being so short. But it is the core to what psychedelics are. That's why I feel like it's so mysterious, because psychedelics, they're already mystical compounds, but what's the core of them? What's the center? What's the piece? The thing that makes the whole thing operate? What's the engine? How do you go down into it as deep as you can? And with DMT, that's been possible. And when I come back out, I'm like, this is indescribable. So, like, I guess a good question now would be, what did you feel like coming out of the experience? What were your first thoughts?
Well, I guess to answer your question accurately, I would also have to add on to what I was saying. After I'd consumed the rest of that 30 milligrams, I grabbed the other 30 milligrams that I had laying there. This was my first real breakthrough.
Okay.
You see, whenever I took my third solid hit, I continued to hear the voices until I started to attach myself to them, where my entire body began to panic. And I was like, no, this is who I am. This is real. This is reality. This is what is. This is fact. This is what, and all these different things like that were going through my mind, until finally something just gave. Next thing I remember, I was falling down, and I felt like I was falling into darkness, until I remember I had woke up in my bed, and from my roof came this purple pink mist, and I knew that it was the voice of my creator, or our creator, however you want to put it. And in what felt like hours, which was probably only maybe 5 minutes, I had this, it was like a personal therapy session with my creator that changed my entire life forever. I remember that ever since I have come back from that experience, my view on reality has completely changed. I don't know shit. Nobody knows shit. Facts just don't seem to always be facts, and opinions are reality is just fucking mind-blowing, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it is like reality itself is what you make it. It is each individual's perspective on reality creates a different reality. It is almost like we are all creating different realities that form into one big reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure, man. It's like mind-boggling going into that experience, and having all that fucking crazy shit happen, and then you come out of it, and I guess that answers a lot of your question. Is it gave you a better understanding of what your place is in the world, what reality is, what it encompasses for each individual.
Well, I think that one thing that it has done differently to me than it's done to a lot of people is this has given me a very, very specific I don't even want to call it a belief, because that wouldn't be the correct term. It is like I have this specific view in reality that I know is, no matter what anyone else says, but it isn't from an egotistical point of view. It is simply because I can only speak through personal experience. I only know what I've personally experienced. And until somebody can relive my experiences from point A to point Z, they'll never really see exactly where I'm coming from. Whenever I say that reality is just a dream, and that dreams are realities being that basically coexist together like a multiverse, and we are experiencing those simultaneously for a much greater purpose, which would be to metamorphosize our consciousness to a higher state of being. A lot of people think that I'm overthinking things. People say that maybe I've done too many drugs. People say that maybe I have mental disorders. I mean, that is very possible. I feel like it is possible that I may have schizophrenia, but I don't feel like psychedelics have impacted my mental state in a negative way. If anything, they've impacted my mental state in a very positive way. Whenever I was 14 years old, I consumed K2 or spice, whatever you want to call it, the synthetic marijuana bullshit, which completely fucked up my brain. I was to the point to where I was just going to kill myself. If it wasn't for my first psychedelic experience, I would be dead right now.